Hi, everybody. Can you see me now? Can maybe somebody send a short notice if you can? After all the technical problems, I've tried to restart. Yes. Okay. And you can also hear me. Okay. So I'm very sorry about this glitch in technology. Of course, couldn't do anything about it, but now we're here, and I'm sorry about the delay. So we'll just jump straight in. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Milan, and I work with individuals and with groups a lot around relationship dynamic issues, and of course also other personal growth issues. And tonight we have this theme, and the theme is what stands between me and love. So of course it's a always a very pressing and interesting theme, an important one for all of us, because we all know how nourishing love is, and also how important it is for us, for our growth, for our sense of belonging, for so many different things. So let me jump right into the subject. We've wasted now enough time, and of course I'll make it up to you, and we'll have the time that we need. And you're very, very invited towards the end to ask questions. And this is always the best way, I feel, to touch a subject like that, because still what I'm presenting to you are ideas, are models, are frameworks for thinking. But at the end of the day, it's always about what is my experience, and this is actually also what I love so much when I lead groups, that I can actually work with people on their own experience. So watch out for what touches you in this presentation today, and I hope you can share openly and feel comfortable to do so. So let me just open some things that I prepared for you guys. Okay, so here we go. Just a little bit technology, and we're here. So just a few words maybe about my work. So I work in private practice and work a lot with clients on Skype. And my big passion really is to lead groups, to facilitate groups, and to create very personal experiences for people about, really, we can sum it up, what stands between me and love in life in general. And what I found to be the most important thing is how do I connect to something that's authentic in me? Yeah? How do I connect with something that is real in me, so that my light can shine through all the blockages and resistance and whatever I've built for myself throughout my life? So actually connecting to this authentic inquiry into who I am and what makes me tick is very powerful, and I love to do that. And like I said already at the beginning, what I like most, of course, I'll always present a certain framework, a certain model, but at the end of the day, for me, it's all about experimenting with certain ideas, and to have an experience within ourselves, what feels right. And this is such an important question, because when we really look into ourselves, we know what feels right. We have that innate ability, that natural connection with ourselves, where we know this feels right, this feels wrong. We can feel it when we meet new people, when we start a new work, when in so many different scenarios, we have this intuitive knowing, I would call it. And what I find also very important, and where I put a lot of emphasis on, is the integration between our thoughts and our body. Just to remain on a theoretic level always keeps us very aloof. It keeps us in a way in control, while a lot of our intelligence and answers lie inside our body. So to connect the two, and also a lot of our blockages, a lot of the trauma sits in our body too. So to integrate the two is such an important piece of that work. Now, why relationships? I just put it down here. I believe that really our intimate relationships have such a great potential for healing, because in no other place in our life do we have the opportunity to be that exposed and to potentially build so much trust with a person, so that we can really explore who we are. We don't have to risk this immediate abandonment. Yeah, we don't have to risk the judgment. Of course, we also have to face the judgment of our partner, but by committing to a relationship, something very healing can happen, because we open up that space of joint inquiry, yeah, and out of this quality that we call love, we make a contract, of course not a written contract in most cases, but we make a contract. We say, let's be there for each other, yeah, let's do this together. Yeah. So I think I want to start by talking a little bit about what stands between us, yes, and love. This is actually also the theme of this webinar, of course. So let me just open this up again. I'll jump between the presentation and myself. I hope that will work well. So what I at least experience also in my life, of course, but also with all the people that I'm working, there is an innate, a very, almost we can call it a natural sense of unworthiness that we all cultivate throughout our lives, and maybe you know what I'm talking about. It's this feeling, am I lovable? What's wrong with me? And it starts very early, and I won't go into, of course, the roots of this. Many of you also know about your personality structure, but and our conditioning, and part of it we're actually going to talk about today. But this is really what it lies at the essence. Yes, we feel we have to work hard for love. And in order not to feel this deep sense of unworthiness, what most of us, of course, try to do is we cover those feelings up, and we try to compensate for them by often actually creating a stronger personality. So this is our way to control life. This is our way to control pain. So we adopt a lot of beliefs and values and rules throughout our lives. So we all build this, we can call it an armor around us. A very sophisticated armor that is supposed to protect us. Now, here's the catch. Whenever we manipulate life, whenever we manipulate love, anything that we receive through any kind of manipulation, and manipulation sounds maybe like a hard word, but you know, when you really look at it, this is what we do most of our lives. We try to get around things. We try to, through communication, we try to get things. So manipulation is almost, we can call it, we learn it very early in our lives as children. It's like a survival strategy. But the tricky thing is that we cannot really receive anything when we manipulate, because even though we might convince somebody else outside, we know within ourselves very, very clearly and very deeply that we don't really trust that strength or that compassion or that caring personality that we're putting out there. Of course, they can be parts of us, but they're of course not all of us. So this is an important thing, yeah, when we talk about this personal work that we're doing here. That whenever we manipulate something, we cannot receive something. We stay with this doubt inside ourselves and carry that. So that's just an important point I want to make. Now, when I like to work on relationships on 4 different levels, and today we're going to focus on one of them, because otherwise it would, of course, it would cross the frame of the time that we have together. But so we have that individual level of relating, where I say, okay, this is where I come in with my personality, with my childhood, with my conditioning, and on a very personal level. So here I really come in with my character. That influences the level of relating. Then on another level, we have the level of polarity, where we actually meet as men and women, and a lot happens actually there. And then we also meet, and mostly on the collective level, the third level, that is a level that we are mostly unconscious of. It's something that we carry. We can almost call it within our genes. We bring it from our ancestors. It has also something to do with the polarity, but it's something much more ancient, not even something that we might have experienced in this life, but somehow carry with us into the way we see the other sex mainly. And the fourth level of relating is the spiritual level, which is a very special and important one. And on this level of relating, we're really talking about something that is not so romantic anymore. It's not the romantic kind of love that we are often seeking, but it's more, it's a divine connection. It's where we really also meet because we know that we heal together. So these are the four levels. I just want to check in with you. I actually like to, even though I don't see you, but just if I'm actually in front of a slide, I just want to check with you guys if you follow me, if everything is okay, and if I should just continue. Just want to check in that you actually hear and see everything I'm presenting. Maybe somebody can just write a comment, yes or no. All right, so thank you. So we'll continue. So like I said, what I would like to focus on is the issue of polarity. So let me just put that on. So I think probably most of you also know that, and if you've already done some work in that field on yourself about love, about relationships, there are significant differences between us as men and women, and sometimes we acknowledge those differences, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we stay on a very high and superficial level of understanding the differences, but we also ignore them. So I just want to make that statement again, that there are significant differences, and we want to look actually at them today a little bit more. Now, those differences have different sources, and some of them are conditioned. So we learn what it actually means to be a man, and we learn what it means to be a woman. And of course, those things are also changing. If you would look at male and female roles 50, 100, 200, 500 years ago, there is an evolution also here. And I feel a very healthy evolution of qualities. And we can almost see we are becoming more and more interchangeable. We are becoming more and more the same in a good way, because it talks a lot about equality. But there are also maybe, and this is really an open question, how much of our of our makeup as men and women is conditioned, and how much of it is genetic. But maybe a good question that we can ask ourselves is, what is it that I need as a man or as a woman? Yes, of course, there are things that I need as a person, which are maybe universal more. And then again, there are things that are very specific to how I feel as a man or as a woman in this life, and what actually fulfills me in that place. Now, I would say the problem that we're facing here is that mostly that polarity, where men see women and women see men, and where we connect, a lot of it is based on objectification. We actually use the other sex to get something, and less see that connection as something that has great healing potential, that teaches us very important lessons, that brings a certain humility to us because we need each other. One of the first things that I actually say in the workshops is always, we have to accept that we need one another. And this is, of course, for many of us, not such an easy thing. I don't want to need anything. I don't want to be needy or need anything. But this is actually we could say this is the basis of every relationship, yeah, the acknowledgement that I need something from you. So there is also certain humbleness and humility in that. So a healthy polarity, in any way we look at it, whether it's genetic conditioned, wherever we are today in our societal makeup, a healthy polarity is still something that is needed. Maybe in 100, 200 years it will change, or maybe in less time, but we're talking about where we are on an evolutionary perspective today, and we need a healthy polarity in order to serve each other and to be in service of each other, because we have different needs. So, and this is something I want to look at a little bit more with you guys. So I've created this slide here, which has, as you can see, different, I would call it different layers, yeah? And the headline, if you see it, says, let me just make this a little bit small so that I can also see if people are asking questions. This will help me a little bit more. I hope you can still see the slide. And please, somebody already wrote here, are these differences still valid nowadays? So that's for you to decide, actually. This is why I always prefer to look at these presentations, these webinars or workshops or whatever we do together, is more as not me presenting an absolute truth, but rather an invitation for an inquiry. Yes, it's like I said at the beginning, what feels right to me, what doesn't resonate with me. So here really also the invitation goes out to you and to see what speaks to me in what is presented today. So I want to start with something that I call a complicated polarity, because on half of those are not applicable to me. Okay, so we'll go through it, and I really think that is a very valid point, because some of these things might be true to us, some of them are not. But let's first of all see what the whole picture is, and then maybe see a little bit more how it also affects us. So I call it the complicated polarity because there is a lot of unconscious interaction going on between men and women, between the male and the female, and what I experience a lot in my work is that there is a lot of anger and disrespect between the sexes, which again is not openly communicated, but it's felt, and it's communicated in an indirect way, yeah, in ways, in the way we communicate, in the way we expect things, in the way we manipulate each other, in the way we punish each other, in the way we talk about each other behind closed doors, or the way we actually intuitively feel. Many times this anger and disrespect is actually, we can feel it in the lack of trust that is very common and prevalent between men and women. So on a conditioning side, if I start here on the male side, or for men, there is a very strong conditioning. By the way, guys, if you want to write, I need to ask you to write in English, because I don't read Bulgarian yet, unfortunately. And then I can also reply to that or address it. So on the male side, if we look at the conditioning that men are experiencing today, and also mostly historically, there is a certain need for men to be silent, to be quiet, not to show emotions, to talk less. And this is also something that we see. Now, again, we can go to the genetics and say the female brain is also built differently, and it needs more words, and it needs the communication, and that is probably also true. But there is also a conditioned aspect here that needs men to be silent, to be short, yes, not to express too many feelings. Thank you, Jen. Another thing is to be a warrior. Yeah, so, and that of course has a lot to do with sacrifice. It has a lot to do with being a warrior. This is what is meaningful. So you will see actually a lot of the male conditioning has to do with meaning. How do I create meaning? Yeah, being effective. There is another male conditioning is I buy women. This is a very prevalent notion for men. Of course, most men will not actually say that, but there is something that this feeling that if I want the love of a woman, I have to pay for it. Yes, and of course, what lies underneath that is a deep pain on behalf of men for actually not being seen, and this interacts very strongly with female conditioning, and we will look at that also in a moment. Yeah, where you can actually also see how the male conditioning and the female conditioning plays together. We're talking about archetypes, or no, we're talking about what is actually happening today. Reaching ever higher goals is something that is expected of men. Defending the family, be willing to sacrifice your life, kill if you have to. So also the role that has been given to men is that, let's call it a life non-affirmative stance. Yeah? And we can also see, we can again, is it our genes, or is it also conditioned? For men, it's easier to take life than for women. And so, of course, what that also means that men are less connected to life than women, which makes sense because women give life, whether they actually have children or not. But this life-giving capacity already provides a lot of connection to life itself. So this is the male conditioning. If we look at the female conditioning, and maybe we'll open up a few questions after I finish the whole thing, and then you can also see how does it resonate with me. So on the female side, Antonetta, I would just invite you for now to carry along and see where it leads. You don't have to agree, you don't have to disagree. It's an open invitation just to look at something, maybe in a different way. So for the female side, there is a conditioning that says be submissive. Yeah. So and that oftentimes also carries that message: don't show your power. Yeah. You need somebody next to you. You need a strong man next to you. You should not be independent. And it has a lot to do with women. What I experience a lot in the workshops that I run, many times there is this theme of I am not allowed to show my strength. Yeah, I am not allowed to show my intelligence. Yes, don't be as intelligent as a man, even if you might be much more intelligent, but don't show it. So this is a very important point, and of course there is a response to that on the female side, which sometimes says then, okay, I will be independent. But what it actually oftentimes is, it's actually a closing of the heart. It's not really an independence that comes from a healthy place, but it's one where it says, I will protect myself. Another female conditioning, of course, is be beautiful. So this whole emphasis on looks and on the outer. Yeah, I said don't show your power, make your men feel important. Also very strong conditioning here. Yeah, you are in charge for that man's feeling of importance, of his empowerment. Yeah. All right, I think the point is clear. Let me continue here. So we go into the next category, which are actually the qualities. And here I want to put a disclaimer. Katja said the truth that lately women turned into men. Yes, this is definitely a trend that we're seeing, that a lot of women are taking on strong male qualities. And it's something we work in the workshops a lot. And it's a very interesting dynamic. Yeah? It's a very interesting protection mechanism that runs behind that. But of course, it's much deeper than just the adoption of male or female qualities. So if we look at the qualities of men or male qualities, of course, every woman also has male qualities and every man also has female qualities. So we're looking here at something that gives us some kind of, first of all, a reference point. So qualities of maleness or of men would be power, which also has something to do with strength. There is something that there is a physical strength. Usually men are built in their physical shape also stronger than women. There is something that is clear, that wants clarity, that wants something that is definite. This capacity also for men many times to put feelings aside, to focus, to have courage. So it's a lot about going ahead, being determined, and not allowing any, I would call it, any disturbance on that way. Now, when we let's say, address an objective in our life that is healthy, that is conducive, that is healing to life in general, to society, then those qualities can be very, very beautiful. And in a moment, we will actually look at what happens when they're not. On the chart, a little, it's hard to see what's written. I will try to do that. Let me see. Okay. I hope that's a little bit better. So those are qualities that we would like to see in men, and I think for many men these are also qualities that are innate in themselves. And in a minute we will also look at something else, at the corruption of those qualities. Now, if we look at the qualities of women, or the female qualities, are softness, nurturing, surrender. Surrender is always a very, maybe it has something also to do with your guys' resolutions. I'm trying to do my best here to show the slide. So many times this word surrender is immediately like judged for many, and I won't surrender because it's a sense of defeat. It's a sense of being less, being humiliated. Yeah, but of course the quality that we're talking about here is a very gentle. It's this quality of opening up. Yes, this ability to need. The receptivity to need, this ability to care, to have patience, yeah, devotion. I think for most women these are very clear qualities. They can relate to them, or the level of details. If we look at how men dress, of course this is a little bit changing also in our society, but still, if you look at the level of details that women use in their homes, in their dress, in their clothing, it's a very female quality. As usually men, if I put it in a very boxed way, of course men put it on a pair of trousers and a shirt. Yeah, but just show there are different qualities here. Also the capacity to open to pain. Now we'll come to actually the important part here, which is, let me just open this up a little bit more so that you can see, is what happens when these natural qualities that we are born with, and of course what also helps to distort those healthy qualities is the conditioning that we are all facing. So if we look at the distortions that happen on the male side, we see there is domination, there is a black and white thinking, there are guru trips, stubbornness, yeah, possessiveness, brutality, fear of need. So a lot of like aggressive traits that where qualities turn into something that is negative, that is, we can call it even sometimes destructive. What a distortion is, it's like a contamination. When something turns bad, yeah. A distortion is also if you have a clear picture and then there is some interference and you don't see the picture clearly anymore. So distortion is something where the original face of something is changed to something, you could call it some kind of a negative protection, but I don't know if it's a protection. It's definitely something that is negative. Yeah, you can see how those qualities are something that you can actually get something good out of, and the distortion, that contamination, is something where we create pain, where we create disconnection. Yeah. And we have the same distortions for women. Yes, when women disconnect, or the feminine disconnects with its qualities of softness and receptivity and patience and devotion, yeah, those more sensitive qualities, what happens, that women then turn into something that is suffocating or submissive, or they're afraid of their freedom, that they have this tendency to lose their self-identity, or they become manipulative, or only put emphasis on the outer appearance, suppressing their intelligence. So all those things that are written there. So this is just a slide that I would like you to look at for a moment, yeah, for just a minute in silence for yourself, and see. Let me just make this a little bit smaller. That, yeah. So if I don't know how many men are here, how many women, but just to notice for a moment, if you're a woman, you can look at the female conditioning and see, where have I been conditioned? Maybe it's not on this list. Yeah. Which qualities do I have? And where have things gone astray for me? Where have things been distorted? And the same for men. Or also, what you can do as a woman, you can look on the male side and see, where have I actually adopted some of those qualities. Yeah, do I feel there's a healthy balance in me? And I think what is a very important question here is, am I allowed? So if you're a woman, yeah, you really ask yourself for a moment, am I allowed to live and express those healthy qualities? Yeah, just ask yourself that for a moment, that question, am I allowed to live those healthy qualities? Or am I too do I become too vulnerable if I would allow that? Would I lose myself? Yeah. Would a man really be able to carry me in that way? And the same for men. Yeah. Where am I connected to those qualities, and where have I abandoned them? Where do I not trust that I'm allowed to lead my life according to those? The fear of need. I have a lot of male qualities. Allowed by whom? Elena, you asked the question, allowed by whom is, we can go into the discussion now, whether it's your parents, whether it's your societal background, your circles of friends that you belong to. It doesn't really matter. It's more like an inner sense that you have. Am I allowed to have and to adopt these feminine qualities? Yeah. Can I live that soft side of my femininity or not? And by the way, none of these things in any way imply that men cannot also have female qualities, or the other way around. Or for many women, then many times the question is, well, so I cannot run a company, or I cannot be a leader. This does not mean that at all. Yes, it's more a question of, like I asked before, is what is it that I need in order to bring out my feminine nature or my male nature? What do I need as a man, and what do I need as a woman? Yeah, this is an honest question that we have to ask ourselves. Otherwise, we'll just be lost in theoretic discussions, and we should be equal. It's not a question of being equal or not. This is not even a question. Of course, we are equal. Yeah. But we have preferences. And what do I do with those preferences? There was a question, so we were in a way. what do you mean by you are not allowed to proceed with those? Yes, I have to play dumb in order to progress. So exactly. So what we do is, of course, and I'll get to the very nice. So maybe I'll get to the next slide, and then we also continue that discussion. So here, this was actually my thought for you to run that by you for a moment. Here, I become anxious when when women become girly and talk a lot. So that's Anna is a good thing to look at for a moment. Who becomes anxious? What does it mean to become what does it mean to be girly or to talk a lot? Who judges you? Yeah, who? Just ask yourself for a moment. What does it mean for you? Wait, I'll come back to the slides. Let me talk to you face to face, not face to face, my face to your face, but at least better than through the slides. And maybe I'll just reply a little bit to the questions that are coming up. So Anna, you had this question about, let me just find it, when women become girly and talk a lot. So there is something about this need to actually express. Yes, I have the need to express a lot, but this need has to be repressed. It has to be pushed down. Yes, it's not maybe valuable to talk a lot. Yeah, so this is something that you can look at. Where do I have, what belief do I carry here about talking about things that are not maybe very meaningful or very target oriented or very productive, just for the sake of talking. Yeah. Can you please elaborate on the capacity to open to pain? So, for example, the ones who have children are women. Yes, that is a huge capacity to open to pain. To have the period once a month, that's a capacity to open to pain. Yes, I mean, in our society still, most of the time children are being raised by the mothers. There's a lot of pain also, of course, there, pain that the mother has to face when children are crying and taking care of them, of illnesses. So this ability to actually really be present to pain, we can actually even see, again, we can see, is it conditioned or is it also something that really belongs to the feminine makeup? If we look at the caretaking professions, those who take care in a kindergarten, in hospitals, the ones who are really the caretakers are many times still women. Yeah. So there is this ability to be around pain and to take care of it, to embrace it. Let me see if there was another one. Okay, great that somebody's translating. Okay, good, Anna. So nice that we touched on that. So let me continue here, and then of course we'll give some more time later. Okay, so I think there is one more question here which I feel is relevant to look at. Yeah, when like I wrote here, choose two elements that resonate with you. Yeah, where I said like something I reject maybe in myself as a man or as a woman. I'm afraid to live that, or I know it's being judged by my parents or by the environment, my sensitivity or whatever it is. And also something you can ask yourself is, how do they make me feel as a man or a woman? Yeah. So if I actually have to, let's take Anna's example, yes, of this, it's not allowed to have this chit chat, this talking just for the sake of talking. Yeah. So how does it make me feel as a woman that I have to limit that kind of communication, that kind of maybe not so meaningful communication, but just for the sake of communication? And who says communication is not meaningful? Yeah. So we live also in a very male-dominated world where we all the time look for something meaningful. This is, by the way, I didn't say that earlier, this is one of the main issues that men are facing. Men come here into this life not knowing what their purpose is and not knowing what is meaningful, and they are on this continuous search for meaning, and in that search they can do terrible things to this world, on this quest for truth, and be very irresponsible. So, and also when I limit those qualities, the question is, how does it affect my relationship? So these are some questions I wanted to run past you. So just one more slide before we open it up for some questions, and so some steps that I thought I'll share with you towards healing. Yeah. So if we are touching today right now just on something very, very specific, that issue of polarity. Of course, in the workshops we work on in a much deeper way to look into the different dynamics of relationships and what we bring into those relationships and so on. But just some interesting points to think about here regarding the polarity issue. So one thing we can do is we can redefine those conditioned qualities. What does that mean? We can look at what is actually conditioned in me, to go into that inquiry, what has been preached to me, taught to me, and to check within ourselves, is that really true? Is that really necessary? Is that really valuable? Is that really meaningful? Yeah. Embracing the contaminated qualities. Now, this is a very important point that we also in the group processes that we work on. There are on both sides there is a lot of contamination. There is a lot of what I call distortions in our personality, especially also when it comes to the polarity, how we see each other. The first step is here the acknowledgement of those contaminated, or of those distorted qualities. And it reminds me something that Antonetta said earlier. Yeah. So are these all protections? Yes, of course. Everything that is distorted in us is an attempt to stay safe, is an attempt to be loved. So to what it means to embrace those distorted qualities means I embrace the way I protect myself. I say yes to that. Yes, I acknowledge the way I protect myself. This is a very, very, because we have a lot of judgments, of course, that we carry towards ourselves. And so we don't really want to look at things where we feel we need help or we are weakened. So this is why it's so important to actually say, yes, this is how I protect myself. This is the first way to healing something here. And I put another point here, which I feel is so important, is how do we heal the pain between the sexes? How do we heal this hurtful dynamic that has been going on for generations and generations? And here again, what we need is the acknowledgement. We need the acknowledgement from both sides that pain has been inflicted. We have caused each other pain. Instead of saying, yes, but you deserve this. You deserve to be treated this way. You deserve to be manipulated. You deserve to be humiliated. Yeah, you don't understand. Yeah, in order to step out of this cycle of hurt and pain, we need to both be ready to acknowledge the pain. Becoming vulnerable, and I found this very beautiful quote from Norman O'Brown, who is a famous psychologist. To be is to be vulnerable. Yes, I think this is the one of the main, I could say, objectives of my work is to stay vulnerable in our hearts. Yeah, that's the way we heal. That's the way we stay available to new information. And of course, it's not always possible because it puts us in a very sensitive spot. But when we learn this vulnerability and to embrace it for ourselves, it gives us a lot of strength and integrity. And to develop that courage for authenticity, to speak my truth. And by the way, everything that I've presented to you today, I might give you another presentation, or you might join another workshop of mine in a couple of months or in a year or whenever, and I might present something completely different. Yeah, this is the truth as far as I can see today. So it's also about really, it's this embracing of our complexity, that it's embracing that we are learning and growing all the time. Yeah, we have this expectation towards ourselves that something is steady, something is fixed, something is static, but we are not. We are constantly evolving and growing. So coming back to you, I just have one more quick slide for you, but first of all, I want to look at the questions. So just give me a moment. All right, so here's one. So you talked about the need, and that we need to admit that we need the other person, the man, in that case. Okay. However, I have always wanted to connect with other people, not through the need, but to be complete first. Is it also preconditioning? Well, to be complete first is not so much a preconditioning; it's a fear. Yes, we want to be complete in us first because we want to be autonomous first. I want to first of all be completely independent, not need anybody, and then I'll be willing to need. Yeah, so it's a very strong protection that we have. I think it's essential that we acknowledge, just the way that you wouldn't deny the fact that you need food, or you need air or water. Yeah, the same way we need people around ourselves. We need to be stimulated. One of the main needs of children is stimulation. Yeah, and the same way we need touch, we need sensuality, we need sexuality, we need something meaningful to happen in our lives. We have a lot of needs, and the acknowledgement of that is the first step to actually receive something. Yeah. So we come also with a certain humility. We come with that acknowledgement of needing into a relationship. Very, very important. Thank you for that question. But being smart, so a question from Anoneta, but being smart is innate. You cannot hide it and protect yourself from it, be it for women or for men or women. The same applies for being objectively beautiful. Smart, when I read the word smart, it always it immediately takes me to a place that has not to do with wisdom, but it has something with outsmarting somebody else. It's about comparison. It's about being superior to somebody else. Intelligence is something that is given. We have different forms of intelligence. We have mathematical intelligence. We have an emotional intelligence. So the knowledge that we are gaining also about the different types of intelligence is developing enormously, and we're gaining great understandings about that. So here, like when I read that, I have a feeling there is still something that is in competition with something. Yeah, it's also about being beautiful. There, I don't know if there's an objective beauty. If you go to Afghanistan or to Australia or to Africa somewhere, you will find different models of beauty. So there is something more here, and maybe it also breaks the framework of this workshop. You're very welcome to talk to me, maybe in private, about that. So let me just read some other things here. And I've never been loved unconditionally. How can I start accepting love? Well, this unconditional, another thing that I always say, the first thing that we have to acknowledge when we do this kind of work, or also when we move into a love relationship, is that love is not unconditional. We have to understand that love is very conditional. We have many needs and many conditions for somebody to receive our love. Yes, and we have a lot of conditions when it comes to receiving our own love towards ourselves. We are very judgmental and very hard on ourselves. We have a lot of expectations about who we should be and what we should achieve in our lives. So unconditional love is a huge ideal that we all grow up with. And maybe it's one of the biggest obstacles to growth, because there is this idea of something out there that is not really so easily achievable. For unconditional love, there has to be unconditional acceptance, and that's a quite a path for us to go through in our life. And this is why I also mentioned earlier, what is a healing dynamic? A healing dynamic is authenticity, is vulnerability, because in that there is an acceptance of what is, and that is love. Love is acceptance of what is not saying I want it this way or that way. I hope that gives you a little bit of an indication to your question. Tati, what is the role of the father figure in forming a girl's attitude towards men? Well, that's a big question. What we learn as men from our father is what it means to be a man and how to treat women. Yes. So for you as a woman, you learn from your father in part how you should be in order to receive a man's love. But of course, this again is a big topic, and I can't go into this much deeper here in this framework. But again, you're very welcome to write to me, and maybe I can elaborate a little bit more. Svetlana, I don't agree with this to be vulnerable. I was vulnerable and I was wounded. Well, I think also I don't know what exactly happened, but let me say something about that, because that's again a very important point. Many times we are vulnerable with a contract. Yes, I'll be vulnerable if. That has nothing to do with vulnerability. And I'm not talking about you right now, Svetlana, in specific. I don't know what the situation is, but looking at vulnerability, vulnerability is something that we bring in to a relationship because we want to be seen the way we are. So it actually doesn't have any preconditions. The moment a vulnerability has preconditions, it's not vulnerable anymore. And it's a little bit, I just want to say one more thing about the vulnerability. It's a little bit, sometimes we say, I trust you. And then that trust is misused. It's not respected. And then we say, you abused my trust. You betrayed me. But when we say to somebody, I trust you, we actually oftentimes want to give that person that responsibility. Don't ever hurt me. Yeah. So we can also be very manipulative with the way we communicate with others and with ourselves. It's a very, very important point. I can't read the name, but it says, good evening, dear sir. This is Abianka from Varna in Bulgaria. I would like to ask you if I have an obsessive, OCD, and I think it is connected to my suppressed woman sexuality from childhood, and if my femininity has been suppressed for so many years, being in my 40s, how I can deal with it. Okay. For that, I would really have to know more, and I can also not say if your OCD is related to that or not. Yeah, OCD is an expression of a deep fear in us, but now to tell you what it's really related to or not, I'm really sorry, Bianca, but I can't do that. That would also not be serious or sincere from my part. Antonetta, smart in Britain, yes. I don't know what that means. What I have wrongly accumulated through upbringing. Okay. That's the same. Lucy, I believe that what stays in between a human being and love is the latent, unawakened, and unexpressed creative potential. Okay. I would have to understand a little bit more. I'm not sure I completely understand. Maybe it's just something that you're expressing. That's the way you see it. Sorry, I get attached to married men. Okay, when we get attached to much younger people than ours, many times, of course, what is the dynamic here is there is a higher level of control. How to deal with that? Yeah, it's about getting in touch with our own sense of self-worth, yeah, with the ability to love who we are. And of course, this is like a very big statement or a headline, but this is really what we're learning. What are we doing in any psychological setting or any workshop that we go to? At the end of the day, beyond learning something, we want to learn how to open up to who we are. Yes, and the more we can accept who we are, the more we will also feel and believe that we are worthy of receiving a healthy love, yes, and a healthy relationship. Okay, I'll just take, because I don't want to take more time than I originally planned for you guys. Okay, being a man, what attracts you to women, but sincerely not as a trainer? If I would tell you now what attracts me in a woman, would not give you a reference to what men are attracted to. So I don't really think that this is something that I would like to go into right now. Ina, what to do if I love married men? Okay, so this again is, we often love something that is not available because it protects us. Yes, it keeps us safe. I don't really have to be available myself. If I'm with somebody who's married, that person is not available, then first of all, I take on a very special position for that person, because obviously if he's in a committed relationship and he also has a relationship outside, then the committed relationship that he's in is causing a lot of pain or difficulties or stress for him or confusion. Yeah, so you are, in that moment, you are a very important person because you are a lifeline. Yeah, you bring meaning into that person's life. So it has two dynamics. One is you become important, and the second is you don't really have to be available. You still keep your freedom. So that's just a little comment on that. Okay, so I just want to show you the last slide that I prepared for you guys, and then see if there are any more questions before we close. So I just want to show you a little bit kind of work that I do. And by the way, sorry, if any of you are in Bulgaria right now, or maybe in Sofia, even tomorrow I'm coming to Sofia, so that would be Friday the 28th, and at 6:30 I'm giving a more detailed talk about the mechanics of love. So it's a free talk actually at the Mandala Institute or Mandala workshop place. And then I'm starting a group that is called The Courage to Love. It's a group that I've been running for many, many years. It's a weekend group. Maybe some of you still want to jump in, so you can get in touch with Natalia's team that I'm sure you know. And The Courage to Love is a workshop that is about discovering the hurtful and also healing dynamics in love. And on Sunday evening after the workshop, I will also, in the same institute, in the Mandala Institute in Sofia, I will run a short workshop of 3 hours on separations and new beginnings. So if any of you still have an incomplete relationship with somebody from the past or not so distant past, it's a very beautiful and enlightening and healing process to do, and to bring clarity into that part of your life. Another workshop I lead is my relationship shadow. It's about understanding and embracing the shadow that we have, that we bring into a relationship, like manipulation and all the different ways we get love. Awakening of Love is a very, very powerful process, again, about shadow, about light, about longing, and also about the divine. It's a very spiritual workshop, but very grounded. And Standing in the Fire of Life is a men's group, an exploration of what it actually means for us to be men in this life. And I hope there are also some men in this webinar, and maybe it would be interesting for you. And actually, with Natalia together, we're trying to organize that for early next year to have a purely men's group. That would be beautiful. In January, so just I want to, let me just wait a second. Okay, so I'm back here, and I'll be happy to take a few more questions if there are any. I just want to see if somebody else, what technique, open heart, Natalia Kopialka. Jen, maybe you can say a little bit more because I didn't understand that question. I will write to you here my email. That is also my website. And if you would like to get some more information about the work that I do, I also give Skype sessions, of course. Or if you have a question concerning what we did today, you're very welcome to write to me. You can also write in Bulgarian. I'll use Google Translate, and I hope most of the meaning will come through. So if there is nothing else, then thank you again a lot for joining this. And maybe I'll see you guys sometime along the path, along your path. And of course, it's also my path. So I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I get to work with people, because it also brings always a part of healing and understanding and insight to me. So thank you very much, everybody. And I'll just leave the channel open for a few more minutes with the first slide, so that otherwise the chat will be deleted. So, and I'll also see if there are any more questions. Thank you very much, everybody. There was a question right now about coming to the UK. Right now, nothing is planned. If you would like to organize something, be in touch. Elena, I'm based in Tel Aviv. And I usually come regularly every month or every 2 months to Bulgaria. Hi Bianca, I saw your message. If you write to me personally, If it's something that I feel I can answer you via email, then of course I'll do that. If I feel that we need to have a session to go a little bit deeper into that, or if I have a different suggestion, then I would let you know. Okay, so thank you again, everybody. I will be closing the broadcast now, and wish you a very good day or good evening wherever you are in the world. All the best to you guys.